Hello everyone and welcome to my Coronation Street official today. Please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Something enormous has just happened on Coronation Street, and if you have been watching this storyline unfold, you already know what we witnessed was not just another dramatic moment on the couples. This was a reckoning. Todd Grimshaw, a character who has endured weeks upon weeks of psychological torment, emotional manipulation, and quiet suffering at the hands of Theo, has finally reached his breaking point. And when he did not crumble. He stood up, he pushed back, he reclaimed himself. This is the kind of storyline that Coronation Street does better than almost any other soap on television. The kind that does not rush to a dramatic explosion but instead earns every single emotional beat through patience, careful character work, and deeply honest writing. And after everything Todd has been through, this turning point feels nothing short of monumental. It sent shockwaves through Weatherfield, through the audience, and honestly, through me. To truly understand the weight of what happened, you have to go back to the beginning of this chapter in Todd's story. Because what Theo did to him did not happen all at once. That is exactly what made it so devastating to watch. There was no single dramatic act of cruelty that Todd could point and say, that is when it started. Instead, it was a slow, creeping erosion, a gradual dismantling of his confidence, his sense of self, and his ability to trust his own judgment. Theo operated through subtlety, through calculated gaslighting that made Todd question his own perceptions, through quiet intimidation that never left visible bruises but carved wounds that ran incredibly deep. Imagine living like that, waking up every single day and slowly feeling less and less like yourself, unsure of what is real, unsure of who you can confide in, unsure of whether you can deserve better. That is what Todd was carrying. And the show did not let us look away from it. Week after week, viewers watched Todd withdraw into himself, his usual spark dimming, his interactions becoming more guarded and uncertain. I genuinely felt uncomfortable watching it, not because it was poorly done, but because it was done so well. The writing refused to sensationalize or over dramatize the situation, and that restraint made it hit harder than any raised voice or slammed door ever could. This is what emotional abuse actually looks like: quiet, persistent, relentless, and Coronation Street committed to showing it honestly. But then something began to shift. It was subtle at first, easy to miss if you were not paying close attention, a flicker in Todd's eyes, a moment of hesitation where before there had only been compliance, a small act of questioning where silence had previously been the default. These tiny changes began to accumulate, building quietly beneath the surface like pressure behind a sealed door. Theo, arrogant in his sense of control and completely blind to what was genuinely happening in front of him, failed to register what these signals meant. He saw what he wanted to see: a temporary blip, a minor inconvenience that his usual tactics would quickly smooth over. And that miscalculation, that was his undoing. I can't believe he didn't see it coming. Honestly, but that is exactly how people like Theo operate. They become so convinced of their own power that they stop paying attention. Then came the moment everything changed. Todd stopped retreating. He started pushing back, not explosively, not theatrically, but with a clarity and a quiet conviction that felt far more powerful than any outburst could have been. He began questioning Theo directly. He set boundaries. He refused to accept the reality that Theo had spent so long constructing around him. And each of these actions, though they might seem small when described in isolation, carried an immense emotional charge given everything that had led to them. Every boundary Todd set was a piece of himself being reclaimed. Every question he asked was a direct challenge to the system of control that had held him captive. Imagine how that must have felt. Finally allowing yourself to say no after so long of being conditioned to stay silent. That is not a small thing, that is everything. When the full confrontation finally arrived, it was genuinely electric. This was the scene so many viewers had been waiting for, and it delivered in the most emotionally satisfying way possible. Todd stood his ground with an unwavering resolve that felt completely earned, articulating the damage that Theo's behavior had caused with a precision and a forcefulness that left absolutely no room for deflection or denial. Every word landed, and on the other side of that confrontation, Theo, for the first time, looked rattled. His usual tools of manipulation sat useless in his hands. His attempts to redirect and control the narrative fell flat, and watching him scramble while Todd remained steady was one of the most cathartic viewing experiences this show has delivered in a long time. Long time, I genuinely had to pause and take a breath after that scene. The ripple effects of this moment extend far beyond Todd and Theo themselves. What we are seeing now is the aftermath, and the aftermath is just as rich as complex as the confrontation that preceded it. The truth of what has been happening between these two men is beginning to reach the broader Weatherfield community, and with that comes a cascade of reactions that are forcing other characters to re-evaluate their assumptions, their loyalties, and their own understanding to the situation. Some are offering support, stepping up in ways that highlight the power of genuine human connection in the face of trauma. Others are confronting their own failures to see or act on what was unfolding right in front of them. For Todd, the journey ahead is neither simple nor straightforward. Standing up to Theo was monumental, but it is also just the beginning. The process of healing from sustained emotional abuse does not conclude with one brave act of defiance. It continues in the quiet moments, in the moments of doubt, in the times when old fears try to resurface and old patterns try to reassert themselves. The show seems keenly aware of this reality, and its portrayal of Todd's ongoing journey is being handled with exactly the kind of nuance and sensitivity it deserves. He has people around him now, allies who recognize his courage and provide the kind of grounded, consistent support that stands in sharp contrast to the isolation Theo cultivated. That support network matters enormously, not just as a narrative device, but as a genuine reflection of how recovery actually works. And then there is Theo, stripped of his control, exposed and cornered. He is now facing consequences he was never prepared for. There is something almost fascinating about watching a person like that be forced to reckon with the reality of who they are and what they have done. His future on the show remains uncertain, and honestly, that uncertainty is part of what makes this storyline so compelling going forward. And just when it feels like the storm has finally passed, you can't shake the feeling that this is the calm before something even bigger. Because what Todd has done here isn't just stand up for himself. It's broken a pattern, and once that pattern is broken, nothing in his world can ever go back to the way it was. What really hits hard is this: strength didn't come from nowhere. It came from pain, from silence, from being pushed so far that staying quiet was no longer an option. And that makes this moment feel painfully real. In my opinion, this is one of the most honest portrayals of emotional control we have seen in a long time, because it shows that fighting back isn't loud at first. It's slow, it's messy, and it's terrifying, but it matters. And now the question quietly lingers: will Todd truly stay this strong when the next challenge comes, or could old fear start creeping back in when he least expects it? Let me know in the comments. Do you think Todd can hold on to the strength, or do you worry the road ahead will test him in ways he's not yet ready for? And what do you think Theo's next move will be now that his control has been broken? Drop your thoughts below. I genuinely want to hear what you think. If this video moved you the way this storyline moved me, please hit the like button and make sure you are subscribed so you never miss an update. We will see you in the next one.